Hello Internet! I am back and today we're doing a review on the Walton Walpad Pro. Now the Walpad Pro is kind of different from other things that we've seen from Walton, namely because it's not running Android. We have Windows 8.1, the full version, on this device. So this makes this review a little bit more interesting than the ones we've done before. So as usual, let's not waste any time and just dive right into it. If you've seen some of our previous reviews, you will know that we like talking about the design and hardware first and foremost. So let's get into it. Now this backplate here is made completely of metal, and that's a good thing because it gives you that premium feel along with a nice surface to hold whenever you've got the tablet in hand. Now I'd like to mention that this metal somehow is quite prone to getting smudges, as you can see, and it does get a bit difficult because you have to keep wiping it to keep it look nice and clean. Next off, we have these sides, which are made of plastic similar to what we saw on the Walpad 10X, and if you take a closer look, I think you'll be able to notice that this has a sort of faux leather type of a texture that again we saw on the Walpad 10X. Since we're on the side, let's just look at these. Now these are the speaker ports. They sound really good, but you just have to make sure that you don't cover them up whenever you're using the device. Taking a look up top, we have the camera module with a sort of chrome trim around it, which makes it look a bit more dazzling. And over here on top, similar to again what we saw on the Walpad 10X, we have the power and volume up and down buttons. Now these are very nice and clicky and responsive with no bit of mushiness at all. They have a good bit of travel and are really what volume buttons should be. It's not really that hard to get right. Now if we flip this over and take a look here, you can see that this has a micro SD card slot along with a SIM card slot. I'd like to mention that this SIM card slot, it supports 3G. So if you're away from a Wi-Fi connection, you can just always put your SIM inside and maybe get data off the cell phone carrier. Now taking a look up front, you can see we have the camera module over here, the front-facing camera module. It's got even more connectivity options actually, as if we look here, you can see that we have a micro HDMI port along with the 3.5mm headset jack and the micro USB port. Now this is used for both charging as well as for data transfers if you want to. Taking a look at this front portion, you can easily see that there are very comfortable sized bezels here, so whenever you're using the tablet, there's enough space for you to put both your thumbs. Now this is also true if you're holding it in portrait mode, as this also allows you to have a lot of space whenever you're holding the device and not just make accidental touches on the touchscreen. Let's get over with the screen here pretty quick because it's really easy to sum things up. The screen is very nice. The IPS display has a pixel density of 200 per inch, which is very high when we're talking about tablets. It also means that everything looks very nice and crisp. Colors and everything are also very accurate on the display to my surprise. Now if you can see these image samples here, you can see that there is sharpness all over the place. It looks very nice and attractive, and you'd have a great time putting these as your wallpapers and etc. Another great aspect of this display is that the viewing angles are also very good. So if you can see here, even at such a steep angle, it's quite easy to see the contents of the display, even though I'm just showing this to you on a video. Other than that, something else which is more commendable is the brightness of the display. I found that this is extremely useful because it goes down very low so that it's easy and comfortable to use in the dark, and it goes up very high so that you can see the display's contents clearly outdoors. And it's something that whenever you're talking about a tablet comes very handy because usually it's used for productivity, and when you're taking this out for productivity, you oftentimes find yourself outside sitting maybe in a garden or maybe by, I don't know, a coffee shop or something. So that's something that you should keep in mind. With a 1.33 GHz Intel Atom processor along with 2 GB of RAM, this Windows 8.1 powered device runs very well. The performance is kind of interesting because since this is a full version of Windows 8.1, it kind of means that this is essentially a PC. So I usually did a multitasking test. So what I'd oftentimes do is open one application such as the App Store over here, and maybe just quickly switch between that and a full-on game. As you can see, I can just do that without there being any lag whatsoever. Now another thing I would do is I would open these in split screen mode. Now this is something very interesting because you can have maybe over here your desktop open while having a completely different app open over here running absolutely independently. And that's something that I find is extremely awesome in terms of what Windows 8.1 can do. And this is also very intuitive given that the entire interface is touch friendly and touch based. So doing things such as resizing this and maybe switching between this side and this side feels absolutely natural. We won't go too in depth when we're talking about the software because Windows 8.1 is virtually identical across all devices, nothing like Android where skins are etc. And the case with this device is that everything works very nice and smoothly. As you can see, all the transition animations over here, everything's working very smoothly and there are no frame skips or anything, and barely any noticeable lag, especially like this when I'm not really doing anything. Opening and closing applications are also really fast. As you can see, I'm loading up a full version of Microsoft Office Word, which comes as a part of the Office 365 package with this device. Now, since we're talking about Office 365, let's just mention that you get a year's subscription of Office 365, which gets you Microsoft Office Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, and you also get a full terabyte of OneDrive space. So the only moments when I did notice some stutters was when I was playing games and having a lot of applications open at the same time. And I mean, that's really when I actually forced this device to struggle in terms of the frame rates and everything. But other than that, as you can see, the whole Windows 8.1 experience is very fluid and very nice, very attractive, and should please most people. In terms of battery life, I was able to get about 4 to 6 hours of life out of this device, depending on how I actually used it. And for a full Windows 8.1 tablet, that's actually quite good, especially given the fact that this has a 6000 mAh battery and a very slim profile. For full details about the battery life, just check out the written article because it contains some more conditional circumstances where I used the device and gained a particular amount of battery life. The camera is probably the weakest aspect of this device. With the 5 megapixel rear camera, you can see that images taken over here are, well, decent. Now that's really upsetting because we've seen very good cameras from Walton in the past and I expected a bit better from them. Now a common trend, as you can see through all the images, is that things appear faded. It's also sometimes very difficult to get the correct exposure as well. As you can see, this image over here looks completely blown out. And over here, you can see that I was unable to get a proper focus on this even in really good daylight. This flower, you can't even see any of the details of it. The inner part of it was yellow. Moving on, as you can see, some of the images actually do turn out very nice, especially if you can just manage to get the exposure and the lighting correct. But on the other hand, again here, things just look faded and the colors aren't true to the actual reality. But all in all, this is a tablet camera, so I guess we can excuse it in the sense that it will be useful for taking pictures of, for example, maybe notes or other important documents. The front-facing camera, on the other hand, isn't actually that bad and is good enough for video conferencing. We've come to the conclusion of our review, and it's finally time to tell you whether or not this device is worth the purchase. So let's talk about some of the positives first. The build quality is very good and the metal backing gives it a bit of a premium feel that you might not find on some other tablets on the market. Next up, we have genuine Windows 8.1 running on this device. Now that means you'll get not only security and bug fixes, but you'll also be eligible to get updated to Windows 10 for free when it launches sometime this late July. Now Windows 10 is going to change a lot about this device because it makes the thing much more touch friendly and there are a lot more other improvements. You can check that up on the internet sometime. Next up, we have a very good display which has a pixel density of 254 pixels per inch, which is very comparable to Retina resolution as quoted by the iPad Air 2. Next up, we have some very decent performance coming from this device given the internals are very good and you have 2 gigabytes of RAM. Along with that, you have expansion capabilities through OTG, as well as the ability to connect this to a monitor using the micro HDMI port. So you can essentially turn this into a full-fledged computer with an OTG cable or an HDMI cable. Next up, the productivity aspect of this device. Unlike Android devices or Apple devices, the main idea of Windows 8.1 is productivity, because this literally is a computer on the go. Not only do you get 1 free year of Office 365 subscription, you also get 1 terabyte of OneDrive storage completely free. And those things, in my opinion, are big factors that would contribute to buying this device. On the other hand, you could use this easily to take pictures of, say, notes or maybe business cards, just for the most utilitarian purposes. But this would not be my go-to camera. It's got a long way to go still. Other than that, well, the Taka 19,990 price point, it seems pretty good too. So why should you buy this device? Well, if you're not looking for something in the Android or iOS market, this seems like a pretty good buy, especially given the fact that there aren't that many options for Windows 8.1 tablets in the Bangladeshi market, especially providing the things that this does at the particular price point. So all in all, at the end of the day, it's up to you whether you're willing to take up Windows 8.1 instead of the traditional iOS or Android offerings for a portable device. Thank you for watching our video. I really hope you liked our review and would share your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section below. Keep tuned for more reviews like this. Thank you.